Hi, welcome to Key Questions for Key Staffers. My name is Jim Atterholt. I'm the Vice Mayor for the town of Fort Myers Beach. This is a show where we find subject matter experts, particularly as it relates to post-Ian recovery, to try to get people key information about some of the issues that we're wrestling with here as a town and as a community. The goal will be to put the show on all the town's social media platforms, but our friends in the media, particularly at Beach Talk Radio, have agreed to play this show before their regular scheduled programming on Friday and Saturday, and we're so thankful for that. Our friends at the Observer and the News Press and the local TV stations, we're hopeful they'll link to these programs when they're working on a story that's similar to the same topic. But particularly our folks at home who are on Facebook, we've gotten so much good information out on Facebook. If you see something today, particularly as it relates to the school, the beach school, if you have a Facebook page and it reaches parents, it reaches alumni of the school, supporters and friends of the school, please post this on your Facebook page because we really need to get the word out. There's some very time-sensitive issues coming ahead of us. We have a special guest today, Patrick Vanasse. Patrick's not a staffer for the town, but he volunteers in a number of capacities. Patrick and I serve together on an ad hoc committee that's been working with the Lee County School District to kind of provide additional information as we narrow down the various options for the school board to make a determination on. Patrick also serves as a member of the LPA, the local planning agency, which does a lot of the zoning for the town that has heightened importance, particularly post-Ian. We're going to touch a little bit about that as well. First of all, welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
We're going to take a brief break because we're going to do a little walk around with the school. We've not done this before, so we're hoping our technology supports this effort. But we just wanted to give you a little, for those who haven't been to the school, there's the historic building itself, and then there's some other buildings that surround the historic building that have incurred some real damage. And Patrick's very familiar. He's got kids at the school, and he's been very active on helping to save the school along with a number of other parents. We're just going to take a brief tour of the outside of the school just to give people a better sense of what's involved in aside from just the historic building itself, which we'll talk about. There's some additional buildings that are an important piece of the puzzle. So we're just going to take a brief pause, and then we're going to just do a quick walk around. Then we'll come back and talk deeper here. Now, I've been in the school, but Patrick's in the school a lot because he's a parent of kids. What grades do you have at the school here, Patrick?
My oldest is now in middle school. My youngest is third grader.
Third grader.
Yeah.
So this is the historic building, Patrick. Is that correct?
That's correct. And before I go into the details, my wife is a lot better at this. She spends way more time than I do over here, but I've been in here a few times. That's the historic building. And pre-storm, it was mostly used for programmatic, different types of uses. Most of the classrooms are in the back, but they use this for science lab, other educational rooms, like music, and that type of thing.
And Patrick, this particular building has certain protections as a historic building, which
yes.
talk a little bit about why this is unique and how it affected its treatment post-Ian.
So I think the historic designation and the fact that it's registered also really was a saving grace. I think that while the district was weighing different options, when they found out that this was a historic building that was registered on the National Register, right there it obligated them to take certain actions. And I think that really got the ball moving forward in us working with the district and the district paying very close attention to what needed to be done and crafting some plans moving forward.
And the district has hired a remediation firm, and their remediation, not the remodeling, but the remediation part is done for just the historic building, right?
Correct. And when it comes to the historic designation, part of it is due to the age of the building, the architecture, and also the architect that designed this building. Our understanding is he's a very well-known architect in Florida. Some of his type of architecture and his design was associated with some very early schools throughout Florida.
Wasn't he like the first state architect for the state of Florida or something to that effect?
That's what I think I heard also from the district.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so next door here, Patrick, this building here with the fife and drum and the Revolutionary heroes on the front, what goes on here?
That building is the administrative building. Principals in there, all the admin takes place in there. Just in the last year, the very back room was now used also for art classes.
And as we look at potentially having a temporary fix for the kids to come back this fall, the historic building could actually be utilized for classrooms. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what the district told us. The size of the historic building is sufficient to fit all the kids in. From a programmatic standpoint, does it function very well if everybody's in one building? Not that well. But that's why we are offering other opportunities, collaborating with the library, and maybe putting some of the kids there or some of those programmatic type of items on the third floor of the library, where both buildings would be sufficient to get the kids back on the island.
Very good. Let's walk around this way. You can see the Bay Oaks area. Most of the debris in the debris field in Bay Oaks is gone, and I'm told by our town manager that it'll be completely gone by the end of March. And then we'll begin remediation on that field to make sure it's cleaned up from any toxins that could have occurred and be pristine once again. You can still see a few of the piles back here, but most of it's gone, considering what it was a few months ago was mountainous before, and it's pretty much gone. And the town is actually looking at some other opportunities for a town hall where we may be able to allow the Bay Oaks building, which people can see back there, which is kind of the exercise facility for the town, but also where the after-school programs occur for the kids. We might not have to use that building for a town hall, which would free up additional opportunity for the kids after school, which I think would be really pleasing to the Lee County School District as well as to the parents.
Yeah, and Bay Oaks has been awesome with the school through the years. We rely on Bay Oaks for the after-school program. We also rely on Bay Oaks for some inside gym activities. We've got rain in the summer, and while we've got some great weather year-round, having the gym there and having the aftercare is amazing for all the parents.
And one of our options, too, on a temporary basis, is to utilize our beautiful library. I understand the school district officials were there yesterday, had a great a tour of the library. The library's been very supportive of allowing the kids to use that. We're working through some of the details on that. We've got some challenges with the elevator with the library, but it's a beautiful facility, and the library's been wonderful. And I think the school district, I don't want to speak for them, but they seem very encouraged by after their tour, wouldn't you say? Because we were on a call with them yesterday.
We had a discussion with the district. They have certain state requirements for all schools, and depending on what age level, you can have requirements that differ. And apparently when they walk through the library, they feel very confident that it can meet the requirements, or that we can at least obtain some waivers from the state to put the children in there.
Excellent. So now, Patrick, this is the back of the admin building.
Yep.
What do we see here in these other outbuildings here? Is that the historic building there that we're looking at?
Historic building right there. That's the courtyard. So if you look at if we were to get in there, the school is really encircling this courtyard, and we have multiple buildings that go around, and that's where the classrooms are.
Okay, so most of the classrooms are out in these outer buildings.
Correct.
Is there also a lunchroom out there as well?
Right across from us, we have the cafeteria with also a small stage. So all the plays, the shows that the kids put on with their wonderful teachers, it's always in that building that we see with the kind of the sun as a sign, and that's their cafeteria also.
Is there any chance that any of these outbuildings, including the administration building, can be saved, or is that still yet to be determined?
We were told that they exceed the 50% rule.
Okay.
And while some of us may debate if they could somehow get it done, because we've been through the buildings, and when you look at it, a lot of it is concrete block and steel girders, and we feel that they might be able to go in there and clean things up relatively easily. However, and I think that's where their strongest point is even if they go in and remediate this and put it back to where it was, we could have another storm with a 3-foot surge, a 4-foot surge. And what happens is they have to go back and do the same thing all over again.
So this is a chance to build up and build safe.
So I think from a long-term standpoint, a sustainable standpoint, they look at it from the perspective that if they're going to put money into this campus, let's do it right and let's make it sustainable and elevate the buildings. And from that standpoint, I would agree that having a long-term solution that is sustainable is the way to go.
Excellent. Well, we're gonna have a quick see. I'll just have our camera person just give one more quick zoom around here. Again, to the very few remaining debris piles here. There's one over there, one there, one there. But compared to what this once was a giant mountain of debris, and it's mostly gone. And again, you can see Bay Oaks back there. You can see the various baseball fields and so forth. And so we're gonna head back, and we'll have a sit down, and we'll talk a few more issues. And so hope you'll stay with us. Okay, so welcome back. We're just going to talk about a couple things. There's a very time-sensitive meeting coming up for the Lee County School Board that's going to be making not the final decision, but really a pivotal decision about the direction and the future of the school. The school board briefing, they call it a briefing, it's on February 22nd at 1 p.m. And you can actually click on to the website of Lee County School District under board meetings, and you'll just hit that school board briefing agenda, and then you'll see a little PowerPoint attached to that, and it's called the Long-Term Recovery of Fort Myers Beach Elementary School. And just click for that PowerPoint, and it'll give you a series of background as well as 3 options that will be presented to the school board members for their deliberations on the 22nd. There will be an opportunity for public comment. The meeting is at the Lee County Public Education Center in the boardroom, and that's at 2855 Colonial Boulevard, Fort Myers, zip code 33966 if you want to plug it into your GPS. You want to fill out a card prior to the meeting if you wish to speak, and we hope folks do speak. And again, that's 1 p.m. February 22nd. So important that we get parents there, that we get alumni of the school, supporters of the school, friends of the school, and that's why it's so important for you to help spread our message. And with respect to spreading our message, we're going to talk a little bit about more what that message is, but just from a blocking and tackling standpoint, it's so important that, particularly as we have folks from Beach Talk Radio and other folks who are listening that are throughout Lee County, a pretty broad audience that this program will reach, we really need everybody from Lee County to weigh in, and they need to contact their own school board member. The school board in Lee County is divided up into 5 districts. And so there are 5 school board members elected in each district, and there's 2 at large. The 2 at large represent the whole of Lee County. So each person will want to find out who your school board member is, and then contact that school board member with support, as well as the 2 at-large members. And you can go on the Lee County School District's website. There's a little thing that says school board on it. Click that, and they'll have a map of Lee County school districts. And you can see a map of the 5 individual school district maps. Find out which school district you live in, and then you can actually look under the biographies of each school board member, and you can click their name, and it'll immediately set up an email for you to write them directly. And you can share about your thoughts about the school and the importance of saving the school. And if you happen to live in their district, make sure you let them know that in your email and provide that address so they know that you're a voter within that district. It's so helpful for the process. So in terms of the 3 choices, you've been heavily involved in this process from the beginning, Patrick. Before we get into the 3 choices themselves, one of the things and the concerns of the school board has been the cost per student of kids here at Fort Myers Beach. It's been a challenge for a number of years, even before the hurricane, and the town, the chamber, the school board is now beginning to address it. Unfortunately, it's happening right after a very difficult time for our island. But nonetheless, it's a legitimate argument in terms of cost per student, and that seems to be the major theme that at least the senior staff, this ad hoc committee that Patrick and I serve on. There's a number of parents, the principal, a teacher, myself, Jackie Lisak from the chamber, and we have been meeting with the senior team for the superintendent, excellent crew of folks who've been negotiating in good faith, trying to provide a lot of information on both sides, answer questions, set priorities, and try to help the staff put together some options for the school board to consider that are thoughtful and address everyone's concerns. And I think we've done that, certainly through a lot of hard work of others. But I think we're at a point now where these 3 options are critical. But one of the issues that was paramount and has been paramount from the beginning is the cost per student. It was almost double here in Fort Myers Beach for a litany of reasons. And we met with a demographer from the Lee County School District, and they weren't terribly optimistic. But there are a number of steps that the town can take, that Lee County School District can take. And Patrick, because he's a city planner by training and he's got a great mind for these kind of things, he put together his own model that he presented to the senior team of the superintendent's staff. And I was there, and he used very conservative assumptions. Patrick, would you talk a little bit about what your methodology was? And at a minimum, I think we've certainly addressed the concerns of cost per student by putting forth a plan that really raises enrollment over the next few years. Do you want to talk a little bit about it in more detail?
Yep. From a cost per student, I think our frustration was that what they presented publicly was post EN enrollment, which obviously what we know is many families got displaced. Our numbers have dropped significantly. A lot of those families will come back, and we also were very enthusiastic. I know you are, about the rebuild of this town, and I think we will get more people and we'll get those numbers up. And that was on the heels also of COVID. And again, we have a lot of people that work in the hospitality industry, and with COVID, a lot of those families left. And I think with COVID behind us, with the rebuild, a lot of those families will come back. So right away, what we assumed a base enrollment at pre-EN numbers. And I believe that number was confirmed by the principal, 79 students rather than the 52 they've been using. So that was one assumption that we built in. And again, we didn't go pre-COVID. We were over 100 students pre-COVID. We just used the pre-EN numbers, and I think that's very fair. Then we started looking at what kind of enrollment does Sanibel get, and how many students do they get from off-island. And they had a similar battle years ago with the district to get their school expanded and built. And one of the things that they did at that time was really expand this waiver program and allow people from off-island to drive their kids and to attend that school. So we assumed that we could get as many kids off-island as they do. Currently, they get about 40% of their student population from off-island. We presented that to staff. If 40% of our enrollment was from off-island, what kind of number could we get? Staff said it was fair, so we built that into the model.
That's the school proximity zone as well, correct?
Proximity zone. That's another thing. What we've discussed with the district is, to a great extent, they control our enrollment. Yes, demographics have changed on this island. There has been a decline, but they control who comes to this school. We're barrier island, therefore we are not part of the broader school choice. When parents get a little piece of paper at the end of the year and they decide what school they'd like their kids to go to, and they put their top 4 choices, for example, we are not on that sheet of paper. So district has a certain amount of control as to people we can reach and people that can attend our beach school. So we talked about expanding our proximity zone. Right now, the proximity zone ends right at the bridge. And what we're saying is they should include our entire zip code all the way to Summerlin. And they agreed to that. They gave us some numbers that we picked up some students from that assumption. So that helped our overall enrollment. We then looked at having a pre-K at the school. So pre-Ks make a lot of sense. They are state funded. Also, there are no other pre-Ks on this island, even private. So a lot of parents that have school-age kids that the following year will be in kindergarten at the school, would just start a year early. The incoming class, since we've had kids at the school, has varied from 10 to 12 kids almost every year. The assumption I made is 11 kids for pre-K. And same thing, district staff looked at that, said that's a fair assumption, we can include that. And then we started talking about some of the things that the town wants to do. working with the chamber and promoting this ability for parents off island to bring their kids onto the island and driving them, and then using the after school care at Bay Oaks.
These are parents who work on Fort Myers Beach but don't necessarily live here. I just don't think the town or the chamber or, quite frankly, the school district has done a good job of getting the word out. I don't think people realize that this beach school is one of the number one rated elementary schools in the state.
Yeah.
So it's a huge resource for employers here, and if you could drop your child off and go to work and have the comfort of know they're just a stone's throw away. I've talked to so many people who work on the island who just never had heard that they could put their kids in school here. And again, you couple that with the number of new developments or new redevelopments that are going to incorporate workforce housing into their project. These are younger workers who have families, and I have been in meetings at the Beach Baptist Church. They're looking at a significant workforce housing piece. They've got outside investors who want to work on that, and they're going to focus on families. So I mean, it's a very modest assumption. I think you just estimated five. I think we're going to do a lot better than that, but that's being very conservative.
And that would be awesome, and I think it could be very successful. But again, I just put 5 extra students.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see with the redevelopment, we're going to see resorts provide some of that workforce housing. And we're going to have families, and they're going to have kids. So 5 was conservative. And the last item I put in there, and that's a very exciting item, is this idea of creating a magnet school. And there's been many ideas tossed around, but a partnership with FGCU or other colleges to have a marine school and have it based on STEM and the sciences would be a great asset. We've heard very positive things from our initial contacts with the colleges and university, so I think it is very feasible, and we would be the only magnet school, elementary magnet school in Lee County. So I think by just having that designation and also having this great environment we're in could draw quite a few kids. Again, I was very conservative as to what we could pick up, and we didn't really have a good example as to, I've asked the district, give me examples of magnet programs that opened up and what that first year enrollment was. And they just did not give me the information. So what I suggested is, if we look at the Sports Academy Charter School that opened up in Bonita Springs just a few years ago, they started with no students, and then they had their first year of enrollment, and they specialize in sports activities. And I said, similar to what we're trying to do with a magnet school, is that a fair comparison? And they said, yes, we get it. I obtained those numbers. And their first year of enrollment, they had 346 students from K to 5. We assumed 10% of that enrollment. And with all those assumptions, and I think they're very conservative, we could probably exceed those easily. We are at a point where we look at the per student cost, and we are less than Sanibel, less than Pine Island, and we're getting close to the entire district average.
I think you literally, through this model, which is very fair and very conservative, is you almost cut the cost per student. In fact, you cut it more than half, because we just have increased enrollment. So the economies of scale come into play, and it's a huge impact. And it from my opinion, it addressed really the major concern of the school district, which was operational costs.
Yeah.
So it seems like a big piece of the puzzle has been filled in here through these conversations.
I agree, and we've been told that the operational costs are their biggest concern. And this has been confirmed by senior staff that when it comes to the capital cost of building the school or finding a temporary solution like portables, there is insurance money and there is FEMA money to cover those expenses. So the capital costs, and some of those arguments that we've heard, that it's going to be very expensive to rebuild and they're going to be taking away money from other areas or other students in the county, that just isn't accurate. The FEMA money is there, the insurance money is there, and we're not taking money from other people.
I think it's an excellent point. And Patrick, this is a good time to transition. we had our ad hoc committee meeting with the senior members of the superintendent's team yesterday afternoon, and they came out with 3 options, relatively new and refined from what we'd seen before. And I know they're new and they were just posted on their website last night. But could you go over briefly the 3 options and just kind of talk a little bit about them?
Yep. We've worked very well with staff. We're happy with the 3 options that are going to be moving forward. And I think they may have started with 4 and they've refined that. From the very beginning, option A has been one of those options. That's pretty much they come in, they clean up the historic building, they may demolish the rest, and they hold on to that asset and possibly work with the town to find some kind of a public use for it. But the idea is that option does not bring a school back on the island. I'll jump to option C, which was...
The first one was option A.
Yeah. Yep. Option C was our ask as parents, and that would be the best case scenario. That is, they come in here, they do whatever it takes to put portables and give us a temporary campus, and they start the immediate rebuild of our school.
And that may mean portables and maybe using the library as well, correct?
Yes, but I think option C, the way they framed it, would be a portable campus,
okay.
Temporary campus with the immediate rebuild of a fully functioning school with a capacity of at least 150 students. So in working with them, we knew they were concerned about having to spend for portables and for the capital cost of a new school. We also knew about the per student costs and the enrollment. We addressed that, but to give them a better option where they didn't have to spend for portables and to rebuild the building, we told them that we can use the historic building and we can use the library in combination. And even if the library is not available right away, we are fine with them putting our kids back into the school. It'll be a little crammed. It won't be ideal from a programmatic standpoint, but we would much rather see them on the island than off island. So that's a way where we address that temporary cost, took that out of the equation. We have also indicated to them that we are okay with them just spending, when they start the rebuild of our school, whatever money they would have used for portables. And what we've been told is that's $5.8 million. To use that money to start building a school, it doesn't have to be the full, I think it was close to a $10 million price tag, the full school. We can use the historic building with some supplemental building.
So when you say build a school, you mean supplemental buildings around the historic building. That's
Correct.
What you mean by build a school.
Permanent facilities that are not temporary in nature. And what we've suggested is use that $5.8 million and don't waste it on portables. Put in permanent structures. That'll be perfect for us as we grow our enrollment. You can put in some benchmarks. And once we meet those benchmarks, that's when you can expand that building or build other structures to supplement that building that they would build initially.
And to save on portables, we'd get these kids back this fall by being in the historic building and then utilizing the library.
Correct.
In a perfect world. Patrick, I just want to talk a little bit about last week on Wednesday, February, I think it was February 8th, Sanibel opened its elementary school. We had an ad hoc committee meeting with the senior team from the superintendent's office at the school district. Everybody drove an hour and a half for this meeting, and I'm just as an observer and a participant here, but I'm not a parent. I'm watching the parents' faces, and I can honestly say everybody in Fort Myers Beach is genuinely happy for Sanibel, and we're thrilled that their elementary school is open. But to see the faces on the parents in the room, and to see that Sanibel is open, the school bus that particular day was 2 hours late. It was late picking the kids up. I'm watching these parents who have spent a lot of time, not only are they rebuilding their lives, but they spent a lot of time researching this discussion to save the school, and they're also on their phones trying to coordinate how to pick their kids up. Talk a little bit about that day and some of the emotions that have been in involved because everybody on the ad hoc committee, nobody's living in their home. I had to hop a ride with one of my colleagues on the committee because we only have all the cars on the island. I don't think people realize any car in Fort Myers Beach was destroyed during the storm. So the parents have young kids too. You add that to the mix. You're obviously working full time. Talk a little bit about the challenges of trying to have this conversation with the Lee County School District at a time when everyone's life on this island is really in disarray.
Yeah. I agree with you. We were very happy for the Sanibel folks. Our kids have been sharing a bus, well, 2 buses with their kids going to San Carlos for a few months now. And we wish them the best. But it was a very bittersweet day in seeing them reopen and having the governor do a ceremony the day before. And the first day where Sanibel kids are back on their island and we are the only ones going to San Carlos, they don't have a bus plan to pick up our kids. And they had to scramble. Our kids had to wait 2 hours. Parents had to find, some parents had to get to work. They had to find other people to keep a watch on the kids while they went to work, or they had to call in and tell their employers that they couldn't make it because the bus wasn't picking up their kids. So, and we understand it was logistics and new bus drivers and things that changed. We get that, we understand that, but it really was a bit of a gut punch because I think a lot of people feel that Fort Myers Beach, for whatever reason, may not have the political clout that Sanibel has. And because of that, sometimes we're the red-headed stepchild. And I don't know if that's completely accurate or not, but on that day, it really felt like that.
Well, we're so hopeful that things will take a positive turn on February 22nd. Again, 1 p.m. The meeting is at the Lee County Public Education Center Boardroom, 2855 Colonial Boulevard, Fort Myers. Zip code is 33966 if you're going to plug it in your GPS. This is considered a briefing, so you can sign in and you can sign up to speak. You want to do that before the meeting. And I think it's so important, but before I close, Patrick, did I leave anything out? Anything you want to touch on? Any other issues you want to touch on?
Just one thing to add. If people can make it this on the 22nd, that would be great. I think the more people we have there, the better. I think the message we want to relay is we're thankful for the 2 really good options that we think are positive. Obviously, the full Monty, the immediate rebuild, and the portable campus is our preferred option.
That's option C.
But I think what we want to tell them is that's our preferred option. But the most important thing for us is that we have permanent structures built. And again, if they want to do something that is not the full Monty, we understand that, we can live with that. But what's most important is we need that structure. We need to have that assurance that long term we are going to have a school on this island, not just for my kids, but other kids coming through.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick. And I would just say to our viewers, this is really we've come at a pivotal time here for the decision process. The final decision won't be made, but certainly direction will be given by the school board to the staff to narrow these options down, I think possibly to 1, and then we'll work out the details from there. So this meeting on the 22nd is so important. Not only is attending the meeting important, but if you can't attend the meeting, as I discussed before, really encourage the viewers to reach out to your school board member. Even if you don't live in Fort Myers Beach, if you live somewhere else in Lee County, you'll take a look at the maps, find out who your school board member is, write them a very nice, polite letter encouraging them to support the beach school for the reasons that Patrick and I have been talking about, and then be sure to contact the 2 at-large members as well. Again, we want to keep this positive. We want to keep the pressure on, but we want it to have to be positive pressure. And again, if this information that we're talking about today, even if you don't post it on your Facebook page, if you would forward it to your friends and neighbors, anybody you know who's an alumna of the school, anybody you know who's a fan of the school, a friend of the school, a key employer, somebody who really appreciates how this beach school is a key piece of the fabric of our island, please, I encourage you to help us get the word out. And again, we just wanted to thank you for being here. My name is Jim Atterholt. We're here with Patrick Vanasse for Key Questions. And so thankful for you to join us, and we appreciate your willingness to help on this important issue. God bless.